Om Jnana Trimnandasya Jnanagana Salakaya Chaksusmritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Nama Sri Chaitanya Manabhishta Stapita Jena Bhutale Sanyarupa Kadamaya Dadati Swampadantikan Vandeham Sri Guru Shitan Padakamalan Sri Guru Vaishnava Visamcha Sri Rupan Sakajata Sahagana Raghunatha Tata Sajivan Sadhutan Savaduta Parajana Saitan Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devan Sri Radha Krishna Parasahagana Lalita Sri Vishakavatansa He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandra Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tata Kanchana Goranga Radha Vrindavanesware Vishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripasindhibaye Vacha Patitanam Pavanavibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo 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 Mahavadanyaya Krishna Premapadayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gora Tishe Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadahara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ananda Lila Maya Vigraya Hemavada Vichavisundaraya Tasma Maha Premasa Padaya Chitana Chandra Nama Namaste Chitana Chandra Nama Namaste Chitana Chandra Nama Namaste. So I'm glad to be back here on the ISKCON Vrindavan Zoom lectures on the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text number 40. Oh, is it 5 or 15?
Chapter 5, Prabhu, we've finished Purushottamas.
Oh, because the message you sent me said chapter 15. 15, 14. Chair. Well, I have to try. Yeah, the text you sent me said 15, 14. So I spent the whole time preparing for 15, 14. Okay, let me see. So I guess chapter 5, text number 14. Let me just see. I guess maybe I did not read clearly. Let me just see.
Yeah, my apologies to Prabhu. I did make a mistake. Sorry for that.
Yeah, I guess. Okay. Yeah, maybe I should have verified with you first. I should have asked you. Okay.
It was my mistake. I'm sorry, Prabhu.
All right. It's okay. I guess I have to try whatever Krishna inspired me to speak for an unprepared class. So we try. Okay. Na kartṛtvaṁ na karmāṇi lokasya sṛjati prabhu na karma-phala-saṁyogaṁ svabhāvas pravartate. See. So this is the chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita, text number 14, the chapter of Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. So Lord Krishna, keep on enlightening Arjuna. Na kartṛtvaṁ na karmāṇi, lokasya sṛjati prabhuḥ, na karma-phala-saṁyogaṁ svabhāvas pravartate. Na, never, kartṛtvaṁ, proprietorship, na, not, no, karmāṇi, activities, lokasya, of the people, sṛjati, creates, Prabhu, the master of the city of the body, na, no, karma-phala, with the result of activities, saṁyogaṁ, connection, svabhāvas, the modes of material nature, true, but pravartate, act. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the actions of, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is created, all this is enacted by the modes of material nature. So the soul, it's called the master of the city of 9 gates. It's called the 9 gates in the body. Purport. The living entity, as will be explained in the 7th chapter, is one of the energies or nature of the Supreme Lord, but is distinct from matter, which is another nature called inferior of the Lord. Somehow the superior nature, the living entity, has been in contact with material nature since time immemorial. The temporary body or material dwelling place which he obtains is the cause of varieties of activities and their resultant action. Living in such a conditional atmosphere, one suffers the results of the activities of the body by identifying himself in ignorance with the body. It is ignorance acquired from time immemorial that is the cause of bodily sufferings and distress. As soon as the living entity becomes aloof from the activities of the body, he becomes free from the reactions as well. As long as he is in the body, or as long as in the city of the body, he appears to be the master of it. But actually is neither its proprietor nor controller of its action and reactions. He is simply in the midst of the material ocean, struggling for existence. The waves of the ocean are tossing him, and he has no control over them. His best solution is to get out of the water by transcendental Krishna consciousness. That alone will save him from all turmoil. Na kartṛtvaṁ na karmāṇi, lokasya sṛjati prabhuḥ, Na karma-phala-saṁyogaṁ, svabhāvas to pravartate. Pravartate. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. So the jiva, the living entity, is referenced here as being the master of his body. So the living entity is encased from the material body and become captive by that. And of course, to say that the living entity is the master of his body, it's kind of a flattering, because the living entity really have no control even over its own body. Just like now, the weather is changing, and we are gradually entering into winter time. So as we are entering into winter time, this is also because we are slowly from autumn season. In America, we call it fall, and then into the winter time. So as the weather is changing, also then there's also the bodily changes, which means this is time you start getting sick. You have cold, and because the weather is changing, so the bodily constitution is also changing. So you're getting sick, and you, as the living entity in this, even though you're in the body, actually you have no control over it. So what control do we have? The body is going to go through several stages of sickness and many things that we cannot control. We cannot stop our own sickness. We cannot stop it. So in the chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita, it said that that the living entity is, the body is like a chariot, and the living entity is being carried in that chariot of the body. So, and of course, it's under illusion. Somebody would think that yes, I'm the controller of my own destiny. I'm controller of my own environment. But this is just false ego. Whereas those who are really intelligent, they do not have such misconception. Think that yes, they are controlling the situation, controlling the environment. Actually, we have no control whatsoever over the control over the environment, and that's why the living entity is being addressed as conditioned soul. The conditioned soul, is trapped within the body, has really have no control. So which means whatever situation, whatever movement we we may be able to do, it's just a privilege that's been granted to us by the material energy. We really have no control over our situation, over our particular destiny. Like Srila Prabhupada mentioned here in the purport of this text we were reading, that the waves of the ocean are tossing him, the living entity, and he has no control over them. So what control do we actually have? There's no control. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur say, "Meche marabose yache bese kacha abadubai." So the living entity is being tossed, here and there by the ocean of materialistic existence. So how to get out? How to get out? So the only way to get out, the only way to stop being tossed around by the ocean of materialistic existence is to simply developing Krishna consciousness. Is to simply develop our relationship with Krishna. If we do that, if we develop our relationship with Krishna, then, as Prabhupada mentioned here, he said, that alone will save him from all turmoil. That's the only way that we can be saved from the turmoil of material existence. Because sometimes, when we're, under the control of Maya, sometimes we say that, oh, everything is fine because Maya, she put us on our lap. She put the living entity on our lap, and then making the living entity feel comfortable that, oh, everything is fine. The living entity is feeling comfortable. But while putting on the lap of Durga Devi, Maya Devi, the same time, there are three spikes that is there on the lap of material energy. This like a three iron spike, just like you're going to sit on a chair, and on that chair there are some nails or some spike on the chair. Obviously, when you sit on it, you think that, oh, and of course you start pinching, you get pierced by it. But you find yourself that you're unable to get out of it. So these three spikes of Maya, these are the threefold material miseries. The miseries of, it's called Tapatraya, the miseries of the work brought by one's own mind, which is called adhyatmic, the miseries caused by one's own mind. Then the miseries caused by other living entities, adiabautic. There's always misery brought by other living entities, and also diving sampad, the adidiver. The miseries brought by the nature, by the higher forces. And the living entities have no escape from it. The living entity has no, the living entity has always been tossed around, from one misery to another misery. Even though sometimes there may be some relief, but that relief is just a preparation for bigger misery. Just like I was saying, that sometimes when in England in the old days, when they want to punish a criminal, they would take the criminal to the middle of the river. So they would take the criminal to the middle of the river, and then they will submerge the criminal inside. So when the criminal is submerged, and then just before he drowns, they will take him out. And once they take him out, so of course he will be feeling some relief. He say, "Oh, what a relief!" So I'll be feeling some relief. But the moment he started feeling comfortable again, they again put him inside the water. So in this way, this is how the criminals are punished. Of course, in the material world, we are criminals because we turn our face away from Krishna Bhayamukha. So we turn our face away from Krishna, and then we try to dominate that which does not belong to us. We try to enjoy that which does not belong to us because everything belongs to Krishna. And we try to assume the first mastership of that we belong to God, to Krishna. So obviously we have to suffer for it. And that suffering is there, it has been there since time immemorial. It mentions that one cannot really calculate for how long the living entities has been in this material world. And so that's why the scriptures describe it as Nitya Bhada. So Nitya Bhada means the eternally conditioned. The living entity has been here since time immemorial. The living entity has been there in many universes, many planets, travel all over universes, and also traveling, and through many, spaces of life, 8.4 million spaces of life, which the living entity has to go through. And each of these spaces of life is so full of misery. But the only way to get out of the misery is, of course, to surrender to God, to Krishna. So Krishna did not say, one who has surrendered to me, then such a person can be free from the clutches of material energy. So the Lord said, and there's no other way, because material energy will continuously bind one in this material world along with his misery until such a time that one actually surrender unto Krishna, and one actually take to the process of Krishna consciousness. The living entity will continually be bound by Maya. And it's being bound by Maya is in a tight grip. One is bound, one is all tightly with no chance of ever getting out. Until one start calling out, hey Krishna, save me, relieve me from the clutches of material energy. It's only when one makes such a pronouncement that, yeah, my dear Lord, release me from your clutches of material energy. It's only at that time that my Devi, material energy, started giving a release of such a person. Like there is one, how we are in this material world, and most of the time we don't feel any inclination to want to get out. We don't feel that, yes, the material world is a misery. There was one time, there's a story which was mentioned by Srila Bhaktivedanta. The story goes that there was one time there was a king. So there was a king, and this king, one time he asked his minister that he want to find out who is lazy in his kingdom. He want to find out who is lazy. So he went around. He told the minister that he want to find out who is actually lazy in the kingdom. So he told the minister that you should go into the town and announce that the king will give a feast, a bhojan the next day. So make an announcement that the king is going to give a feast next day to only those who are lazy. So anybody who is lazy, the king is ready to give. The king is going to give a big feast for all the lazy people in the city. So the minister went out and make big announcement, big news that tomorrow morning in the king's palace, all the lazy people have been invited for a feast. So before everyone showed up, so the king, he had a big pavilion constructed so that those who can admit that they are lazy, they can be fed. So the next day, many people showed up. So many people showed up the next day. And then they all sat down in a pavilion waiting for the feast to be served. So as they all sat down waiting for the feast to be served, so the king told the minister that he should set this pavilion on fire. So if I set this pavilion on fire, we will see who's going to remain there. So the minister, they set the pavilion on fire, and then everyone ran out except two persons who happened to be friends. So these two persons, so one of them told his friend that I think I'm feeling some heat here. I'm feeling some heat. So his friend told him that, well, just turn the other way, just turn the other side. If you turn the other side, maybe the heat may not, turn the other side. So the king said, oh, look at these two guys, the king said that these two fellows, they are so lazy that they can't even get up, even though there's fire, around them, they can't even get up. So yeah, these two fellows, these are the really lazy people. So this is the situation of everyone in the material world. Because everyone in the material world, they know that the miseries is there. Material world is full of problems. But still, when a sadhu comes telling them to hear Bhagavad Gita or to chant the Lord's holy name, They will say no. They will say, oh, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm fine. You know, somebody tell you, somebody say, okay, my dear friend, you know, this material world is a place of misery. You are simply suffering one after the other. You know, why don't you, come and take this message of Krishna consciousness? Come. So everybody is saying that I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm fine. This is you know, everyone's popular response. You know, you ask everyone in the morning that you meet someone, you say, okay, how are you? How are you? They say, oh, I am fine, I am fine. This is how everyone this is how everyone cheat themselves. Everybody's saying that they are fine. But how are you fine? You've been tormented day after day by the materialistic energy, by the threefold materialistic miseries, but you are saying that you are fine. How fine are you? You know. So this is how we are deceiving ourselves. You know, the Vaishnava say, I should say, Jiv Jago, Gorachi, wake up, wake up, wake up. You know, last Ishwara Prabhu, he was making responding to there was a caricature whereby he was saying that there was a husband and wife. There's a husband and wife, and the wife telling the husband that chant, 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 chant. So the husband say can't. You know, he said chant, chant, chant. He said can't. Hmm? It's so easy to chant, but the man say can't. You know, we go on the street, we say chant Hare Krishna and be happy. But people say no, can't, because they say, oh, we are busy working, we are busy working. We are busy working, we have to, so much maintenance is there. So how can we stop and chant? So this is the situation of everyone in the material world. Because the material energy, she has two main potency. One is covering potency, and the other one is throwing potency. Throwing potency and covering potency. So everyone is thrown into the ocean of materialistic existence, whereby you have to be swimming across the wave of materialistic of the material ocean. And then we're thrown inside the ocean, which is full of problems. And then there's another potency is a covering, whereby the intelligence is covered over. So the intelligence is covered over, whereby one loses the understanding of one's identity. One think one is this material body, one belongs to this materialistic environment. So this is a covering. This ignorance. So which means until the ignorance is removed, there can be no way out of materialistic existence. So that's why when we approach a spiritual personality, like a guru, a spiritual guru, we're saying, "Oh, Agyana Tremendasya, Agyana Gana Salakaya," that born in the ocean of ignorance, and by the spiritual master is able to remove by applying the ointment of knowledge, because the eye becomes darkened. So the eye need to be open. The eye need to be open by knowledge. So when the ointment is applied on the eye in the form of a spiritual instruction by a competent guru, then the eye can be opened, and then the reality of materialistic existence can be understood, can be heard. So in this particular verse, there's a commentary by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti in this verse of this sloka on the Bhagavad Gita. So Srila Vishnu Chakravarti said, he said, someone may question Bhagavan's speciality, between the Lord's speciality. If it is true that the jiva has no tendency to act as a doer, then why throughout the material world, which the Lord has created, is he seen as the doer and the enjoyer of the fruits thereof? See, this is very important question. That how come that the jiva has no tendency on its own to act as a doer, but how come all of a sudden he became captive and he's seeing himself as a doer and the enjoyer of the fruits thereof? It appears that Ishwara, or the Lord, created these tendencies which are forced upon the jiva. If this is so, then it means that he carries the defect of being partial and without mercy. Because we know, because in this material world, there are some living entities who are free, especially the pure devotees, they are free. They are not affected by they are not bound by materialism. They are not under illusion of material energy. But at the center, there are some other living entities who are bound, who are under the illusion of material energy. So does this mean that the law is partial? After all, the law says, it says, Samohan Svabhāvas, he says, I am equal to all living entities. Samohan Svabhāvas, I am equal to all. This is the Lord's declaration. Because why? Every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna. Everyone is part and parcel of him. He said, the Lord said, I mean, there are many declarations there in the Gita, whereby the Lord said, he said that Aham Bija Pradapita. He said, I'm the father of all living entities. I'm the single father of all living entities. So now, if Aham Bija Pradapita, if he's the father of all living entities, why does he allow some to suffer and some to be free? Why does he allow that? So which means the Lord must be guilty of partiality. He favors some, why some he does not? Why some he allows them to, he allowed them to suffer. So this is so what is this situation here? So this is the question which I asked, that the Lord can be said to be guilty of partiality. So he mentioned, so in response he said, no, na kartṛtvaṁ, that because the Lord does not, he said the Lord has not created a tendency for the individual living entities to act, or their karmas, or the resultant fruit. Mention that the Lord is not really responsible for the individual living entities to act in a particular way. So he has used the word na 3 times to stress and emphatically refute this point. He has neither created the initiative, nor has he created the karma in the form of prescribed duties, nor the result of karma itself, which is says enjoyment. Which means the Lord has not created the karma. He has not created the various duties that one has to perform in the execution of those karmas. Nor has he created the resultant, the result of the karma, which is the fruits, which means whatever, other enjoyment or whatever. So he mentioned here that this text saying is that na kartṛtvaṁ karmāṇi lokasya. So the Lord say na karma-phala. So 3 things. You have kartṛtvaṁ. Kartṛtvaṁ means the duty itself. Then the karmāṇi, the duties. The karma, the karmāṇi, and then the karma-phala, the result of the activities. So the Lord said, I did not create all these things. He has not created all these things. So now, so what is the implication here? So the implication here is that it is only the conditioned nature of the jiva. In other words, his ignorance since time immemorial, which induces him to recognize the ego as being the prompter of action. This is the cause. This is the cause the Lord is mentioned here. The Lord has not created anyone's action. So the Lord actually is neutral, is a neutral thing. Just like the popular example is the bird, the 2 birds on the tree. One bird is the taste of different fruits, and another bird is simply the witness. It's simply witnessing what the other bird is doing. So one bird is going around all over the tree tasting different fruit. Sometimes the fruit is tasty, sweet, and sometimes the fruit is bitter. This is our existence in this material world. Because sometimes when we're in a good situation, and oftentimes we're in a very bad situation. Just like you said, it's a very popular understanding that in this world, it's basically there's only a few percentage of people who are actually enjoying the 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 work of the majority of the people. Typically, maybe 10%, even less sometimes, who are actually really enjoying because they're able to enjoy the facilities of the material world. Whereas the majority, about 90%, they're simply working for others. So this is how the material world operates. Because material world is actually meant to give us uncomfortable situation so that we can start thinking that maybe I should get out of this place. Maybe I should get out. So he's saying that it's only the conditioned nature of the jiva. In other words, his ignorance is time immemorial, which induces him to recognize the ego as being the prompter of action. This first ego, the first ego that I am the doer, the first ego that I am the controller. And why these first egos arise? This first ego arise due to having turned one's face away from Krishna. Krishna, Jiva is another bhayamukha. Once you turn your face away from Krishna, what happens is that you become over by ignorance. That's what happens. Because the living entity is marginal potency of the law. It's coming from the laws. Tatastha Shakti means the marginal potency. So being the marginal potency, the living entity has a choice to make. The choice of either look towards Krishna or the choice of either look away from Krishna. And the Lord does not interfere with that because after all, just as the Lord is Swara, is independent, Krishna is independent, and the Jiva, the living entities, also being part of Krishna, part and parcel of Krishna, so they're also independent. So the Lord does not interfere with our independence. And just like if one want to fall in love. So when we're talking of love, that cannot be forced there. It has to be completely free will. Nobody can force you to love, to love them. It's impossible. Because as soon as we talk of force, then there's no love there. There's no love. Love means, because it's an activity of the heart, it comes from the heart. Then it comes from the heart, and then one is able to reciprocate love with others. But if there is a force there, then there cannot be, this light keep going off. Thankfully, I'm having my telephone internet on. This is Vrindavan. Is it? So,
we can still hear you.
Okay, okay. I'm in the dark. Okay. So, the love cannot be forced. The love has to be free willing. So similarly, also the Lord does not interfere with He has given us independence because He's also independent, supreme independence of God, So He gives us independence also to choose Him or to choose Maya. Choose me or you choose Maya. Because the living entity is in that attached position, that region. So usually some living entities choose to be in the spiritual world, choose to look towards the Lord, and then they're in the spiritual energy, in the spiritual world. While some living entities choose to be in the material, to look towards the material energy. Why? Because there's the first notion that, okay, I can be the Lord, I can be God. The first notion I can be God, then with that first notion that I can be God, so everyone tried to make it. Everyone tried to be, okay, I can be God of all, I can survive, I can be the God. So now, of course, there's a competition because in this material world, everyone wants to be God. Everyone wants to be the Lord. So there's a constant competition is there. That's what they call the struggle for existence. Ahastani sahastanam, apadani chatuspadam, fagunitata mahatan, jiva jivoshi jivanam. This material world is a place of constant struggle for existence. Those living entities that have no leg, they are the food for those that have legs. And the weak, they always have to subsist on the mercy of the strong. So therefore, according to their Acharya, that's one living entity is food for another living entity. So Prakriti, Prakriti is stanika shati. The Prakriti, everyone had to struggle constantly with the material energy. So it's a story, material is a story for existence. Because everyone wants to be God, everyone wants to be the Lord. Whereas in the spiritual world, there's only one Ishwara, there's only one God there. In the spiritual world, only one God, and everyone else is a servant in the spiritual world. There's no question of anyone trying to compete with God. There's only one supreme master, everybody's a servant. However, the difference in the spiritual world is that in the spiritual world, even though everyone is a servant, there's only one God, Ishwara, dear Krishna, but there's a complete harmony, there's a complete bliss. People as being servants is actually the most glorious thing. To be servant of God is the most glorious thing. Because that servitude of God, that servitude is deeply rooted in love. There's abundance of bliss, there's abundance of happiness. And that servitude is so great that even God himself sometimes, he wants to taste that service. He wants to say, oh, what's my devotees are getting? They are serving me. What are they getting? Let me try to find out how to be, let me try to find out. So sometimes the Lord himself become greedy to try to find out what is the devotees are getting by their service of him, by their service to him, and what kind of happiness they are getting. So the Lord himself, he become greedy, want to taste, he want to become like that. And that's why Lord Krishna came as sṛjati Prabhu, just to try to understand what is it that his devotees are so, what is that, why they are so attached to him, why they're so madly in love with him, and what kind of happiness they are getting in their loving service to him. So the Lord become greedy. So he appeared, he came as sṛjati Prabhu to become his own servant. You see? But this kind of thing, this is not something that people understand in the material world. When you tell someone that, oh, your constitutional position is to be the servant of God, it's, oh, how can I be a servant? Servant is such a horrible thing, because we have a very, very bad experience in the material world. Our experience is very, very bad because this material world is a place that is full of exploitation. Everyone's simply there to exploit the other person. So the whole idea of master and servant is all based on exploitation. Whereas in the spiritual world, there's a complete dedication there in the spiritual world. Everything is dedicated. Everyone is dedicated to God. So everyone dedicated to Krishna, and Krishna is also dedicated to his servant. So it's actually a mutual thing. It's not that the supreme master is simply sitting there and just waiting for everyone, just taking everybody's service. No, actually, it's such a mutual thing. It's such a very sweet thing. In the Bhagavad Gita, which was written by Srila Sanatana Goswami. So in the Bhagavad Gita, it narrated the story of a Gopa Kumar who had developed a strong attachment to Lord Sri Krishna. He has developed this internal the feeling of seeing himself as a friend of Krishna, Gopa. That's why his name is called Gopa Kumar. So this devotee, Gopa Kumar, he reached the spiritual world. He entered Vaikuntha. And when he entered Vaikuntha, it's a long story, of course. So he was able to go into the into the audience, into the palace of Narayan. So I was able to get into the palace of Narayan. And when he reached there, so many devotees are there, of course, so many, all the eternal devotees are all there. So when Gopal Kumar, when he reached the palace of Narayan, the you know, the chamber of Narayan, so his affection was so much that he wanted to run and embrace the Lord. He wanted to run and embrace the Lord. At the same time, also the Lord himself, when he saw Gopal Kumar coming, he also felt a great desire to go and embrace Gopal Kumar. So the master was so happy to see someone that's coming. He was ready to, that yes, here's my dear someone that's come. Let me go and embrace him. And of course, there is some limitation is there because in the Vaikuntha planet, there is there's Ishwara is there. Ishwara is there. Which means Lakshmi Devi, she would put a restriction on anyone trying to get closer to Lord Narayan. That yes, you can render your service from afar, but because she's the one who is actually only, massage the Lord's lotus feet, she will not even allow anybody to go close because Ashwaya, Bhav is there, the supreme opulence. So even though in the Vaikuntha Dham, Lakshmi, Gopal Kumar wanted to really to go and embrace the Lord, he could not do so because Lakshmi Devi will not allow. At the same time, also the Lord also, he also felt a great eagerness to wanting to embrace Gopal Kumar. But of course, the difference is that when Gopal Kumar did get to Golokdham, when he get to Golokdham, because he went higher, he went deeper in his spiritual practice. When he reached Golokdham, and that time, so when he reached there, and Krishna was just coming from from heading the cows. He was coming from the forest. And the moment Krishna saw Gopal Kumar, so Krishna just immediately embraced Gopal Kumar, embraced him. He said, "Oh, my dear friend, you have been away for so long. For so long I've been away. I've been wondering where you are. I've been wondering when you will come back to me. I've been feeling so much separation from you. So the Lord, embrace Gopal Kumar this way. So this is the nature of the spiritual world, because there's that such complete harmony, complete dedication between the master and the servant, and also all the other servants. There's no jealous, there's no envy there. Actually, in the spiritual world, the more you serve in the spiritual world, the more all the devoted, the more they also encourage you to serve. It's so full of encouragement. Everyone is dedicated to one another. Whereas in the spiritual world, in this material world, it's so full of envy, because everyone's simply interested in, taking a position. Whatever you do, you are criticized. Whatever you do, you are judged by what you do. Whereas in the spiritual world, it's not that. But this knowledge of relationship with God, with Krishna in the spiritual world, it's not there in the material world. It's not there. Even though one of the great personalities, even though when they want to broadcast this knowledge, people are not interested. It's like can't, don't have time, because they are busy with their, materialistic endeavors, and they are so busy because being covered by Maya, being covered by material energy. So people cannot really wake up to what is really good for them. So it's like can. I cannot hear this. I cannot hear Bhagavad Gita. I cannot take part in hearing Kirtan. I cannot take part. I cannot chant Krishna's name. Just like when we do Sankirtan in the West, sometimes you approach someone, you want to give them a book, they will say, "Oh, get a job. What are you doing?" You're trying to beg and give some book. They will shouting at us that get a job. And of course, we tell them, "Oh, this is my job. My job is to give you this book, so that your life can be perfect." So anyway, this is what is being said here. So again, in this verse, So the Lord in this verse, the Lord saying that he is not responsible for the situation of the living entities. They are responsible for their situation. They are responsible for it. That's the proper we say that just as the living entity, everyone is the architect of their fortune, some are also architect, they also architect of their misfortune. So we are responsible for our action. We cannot blame God for anything. So the Lord said, he said here, just if I to read the verse again, na kartṛtvaṁ na karmāṇi, lokasya sṛjati prabhuḥ, na karma-phala-saṁyogaṁ svabhāvas to pravartate, that the embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruit of action. All this is enacted by the most of material nature. And towards the end of his purport here, Srila Prabhupada said, the waves of the ocean are tossing him, the living entity, and he has no control over them. His best solution is to get out of the water by transcendental Krishna consciousness. That alone will save him from all turmoil. So I will stop here. You can, anybody have any question or comments, you can please make. A very nice verse, even though I did not really prepare for this verse, but I think I was able to say something.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Very nice class. So I've allowed you to unmute. If anyone has any questions, you can unmute and ask.
Okay. Some comments. Anybody can make a comment also. That's fine. Very wonderful verse of the Gita.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Prabhu. It was wonderful.
Okay.
Gave you the wrong verse.
It's okay. For inviting me. Okay. So I guess we can close.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Oh, thank you. Hare Krishna. God bless Prabhupada.